This week on the show, eBay partners with Meta for Facebook Marketplace, Poshmark partners with Loop for returns, and Whatnot raises a whole bunch of money. What is up, Galaxians? Welcome to episode number 281 of the Galaxy CDs, Rocks, and Flips Reseller Talk podcast, bringing you all the reselling news you need to know. My name is Ryan, and I'm going to be your host. We've got some updates from eBay, Poshmark, Whatnot, and more in today's episode. And then at the back end of the show, I've got about a dozen things and a what sold recap that you will want to check out. Nothing super spectacular this week, but it's been pretty good here at the Galaxy. There will be timestamps in the show notes and the video description down below if you want to go to a particular segment. And as always, if you happen to get something out of this, please do me a favor. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not a subscriber or a follower of the podcast, please consider doing that as well. Would love to have you on board. I finally crossed last week 2,000 subscribers over on YouTube. And if I can get to the right button here, there will be some applause. It was a delayed reaction by the crowd. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's get into this reselling news.
News updates.
So first up, the big announcement was eBay partnering with Meta for Facebook Marketplace. This article appears over on Value Added Resource, and of course, they will all be linked in the show notes in the video description down below. Liz asks, if you can't beat them, join them. eBay has announced a new partnership with Meta that will enable eBay listings to appear on Facebook Marketplace in 3 markets currently, the United States, Germany, and France, opening up opportunities for additional sales and potential ad revenue. The move comes as part of Meta's response to the European Commission's November 2024 decision, imposing a modest €797.72 million fine on Facebook on Meta for breaching EU antitrust rules by tying its Facebook Marketplace to its social network and imposing unfair trading conditions on other online classified ad service providers. Meta, for their part, said, while we disagree and continue to appeal the European Commission's decision on Facebook Marketplace, we are working quickly and constructively to build a solution which addresses the points raised. Today, this is last week, we will launch a test in Germany, France, and the U.S. that will enable buyers to browse listings from eBay directly on Facebook Marketplace while completing their transaction on eBay. That is an important point. We'll get a little more in detail in that here in a moment, but the transactions will be handled on and by eBay, not on or by Facebook. So be aware of that. This could benefit people using both platforms. eBay sellers, of course, will gain exposure to Facebook's audience, while people using Marketplace will be able to discover a broader array of listings from the eBay community. For anyone wondering why Meta would include the U.S. in this trial when it's not under the jurisdiction of this EU Commission, there is an ongoing FTC case against Meta with similar antitrust and anti-competitive practice allegations, and importantly, eBay specifically came up during discovery last year. Including the U.S. platform in this trial is likely an attempt by Meta to undercut those concerns or show that they are already working to address them before the case heads to trial in April. The new program started last week with eBay deciding which listings will be included based on factors including current shopping trends and listing quality, and there is nothing a seller can do to opt in or out. It is completely up to eBay. Again, it's also important to note the Facebook listings will simply direct buyers to the eBay site, with all communication, payment, order processes, and buyer and seller protections still handled as normal by eBay. So this transaction and all the communication, everything will be handled on eBay, not on Facebook Marketplace. So this works out to be essentially an ad rather than a listing on Facebook Marketplace. We're always looking for new ways to increase exposure to your listings on and off eBay, eBay said. Starting today, we're thrilled to announce that we're adding Facebook Marketplace to the growing roster of channels where your listings can be found. This week kicks off our collaboration with a pilot of select eBay listings appearing on Facebook Marketplace, again in the US, Germany, and France. There's no action required on your part. Simply keep listing on eBay as usual to enjoy the benefits of broader visibility and the chance to reach a new audience of buyers through Facebook Marketplace. As far as I know, I don't know if there's a way to track where your purchases come from. If Facebook Marketplace will somehow be denoted in your metrics as that's where it came from. The entire process from product inquiries to payments will continue to be securely handled through eBay. That means your transactions, order details, and seller protections will all remain unchanged. Stay tuned for more updates as we work to expand the number of eBay listings that can appear on the marketplace, opening the door to new buyers and opportunities. They did have a FAQ section. What happens when an item sells on Facebook Marketplace? When an item from eBay sells through Facebook Marketplace, buyers will be redirected to eBay to finalize their purchase following the same process as when they buy directly from eBay.com. Additionally, these sales again will be protected by eBay's money-back guarantee and all other applicable eBay policies and protections. So I guess from my reading of this, it doesn't matter what Facebook Marketplace's policies are. These transactions will solely be finalized and under the rules of eBay. Which categories are going to be shown on Facebook Marketplace? Listings from a variety of categories will appear on the marketplace based on factors including current shopping trends and listing quality. I harp on this show all the time about listing quality. Fill out those dreaded item specifics, have a good description, have a lot of good photos. That is increasingly becoming more and more important. And this is another case in point where if you have what eBay deems to be a sub-quality listing, it probably will not qualify to appear over on the marketplace. Do I need to do anything to enable my listings to show up on Facebook Marketplace? eBay, they say, is always looking for new ways to drive traffic to your listings. We already work with a number of partner sites to show your inventory to interested buyers. As long as your account is in good standing, your listings could appear on any of these partners, including Facebook Marketplace, based on user interest, shopping trends, and again, listing quality. Will my items only be shown to local buyers? Facebook Marketplace shows a mix of local and shipped items. That means your listing could appear to buyers outside of your local market based on the shipping preferences that you have set on eBay. So I assume if you have an item that is local pickup only, that's how it would display over on Facebook Marketplace. While this new program stands to benefit both Meta and eBay in different ways, with eBay's stock jumping to a 52-week high on the news, I believe their market value went up about $3 billion with a B on the day this was announced. It's not clear what the benefits or incentives for average sellers will be. Obviously, the potential for increased exposure and increased sales would be the primary driver of this, but at any one individual level, the odds of your listing appearing over there among the millions and millions of listings that are on eBay might not be all that high. It is also not entirely clear how these listings will work or be displayed on Facebook Marketplace, as currently the eBay Marketplace profile shows 0 items for sale. Again, my reading of this is that they're not going to be shown necessarily in eBay's marketplace, but as like a third-party ad on Marketplace. I could be wrong on that, but that's my interpretation of what this program looks like. I don't know. Hopefully there'll be some more clarity coming in the future, whether this will appear as an actual listing or this is going to appear as some sort of an ad, kind of like what they show here. Facebook already inserts sponsored ads into Marketplace search results like the one for Amazon. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see that on the screen right now. So it looks like a listing, but it is a sponsored ad from Amazon. So be aware of that. That would be my expectation. That's how it's going to show up. And when you click that, it probably takes you directly to the eBay listing. What else we got here? It's a good bet that one way sellers can increase their odds of being featured in eBay's new Facebook Marketplace listings is pay-per-click offsite ads. This was the first comment I made on Colorado Rewarn, shared this news story over on Instagram. And I said almost immediately, insert eBay shameless plug for offsite ads. That would be one sure way, because this looks like an absolute banger of an offsite ad program. And if you're in that program, obviously you're going to take some precedence to get your items showed over there. eBay had rolled out this offsite ad program back in 2022 as a way for sellers to gain favorable Google placement, and it has since expanded to include visibility across other locations. However, since that rollout, they've struggled to get sellers on board, despite regularly running promotions to try and entice them to sign up. $100 worth of credits, $150 worth of credits. There have been all kinds of different things trying to get people to use this. and inclusion or higher placement in these Facebook marketplace listings could help boost adoption rates. Let me know if you're watching on YouTube or listening over on Spotify, whether the addition of Facebook Marketplace would spur you to consider offsite ads. I will hold my hand up and say no. That does not makes no difference to me. I'm not interested in paying for clicks for the type of merchandise that I sell. Now, obviously, different business models will differ in whether this program could be effective for them. But for my part, this would not inspire me to participate in the offsite ad program. eBay may find that sellers will be asking the same questions about this feature as they have about the social sharing tool. Why not simply sell directly on Facebook Marketplace themselves? Again, let me know down in the comments what you think. Obviously, the markets thought this was a huge win for eBay. Again, it was a $3 billion increase in their market cap value at the time of this announcement. So we'll see how this plays out, but it has been viewed, at least in the market, as a big, big win for eBay. eBay announced updates for shipping rates and confirmed some changes about the UPS Ground Saver SurePost this week as well. eBay announced 2025 carrier rate updates, and it quietly confirmed big changes to the UPS Ground Saver and SurePost services. We will cover that again in a little more depth later in this show. We've talked about it over the last couple of weeks, the falling out with the end of the contract between the United States Postal Service and UPS has made some major, major changes in how that program works. The update came in the form of a community forum post advising sellers of upcoming rate changes for all three carriers, the United States Postal Service, UPS, and FedEx. For the Postal Service, peak pricing will end and new rate changes go into effect on January 19th of this year. We talked about that. Gosh, it's probably been a couple of months ago now when the Postal Service announced those rate changes. So there is, if you want to dig through the archives, there's an episode where we covered those changes in detail. The great news, overall rates are mostly decreasing compared to the current holiday rates in place since October, which was what I kind of surmised at the time. That's what happened a couple of years ago when the surcharge was in place. The rates during the holiday were higher than what the new rates were in January, and that looks to be the case here as well. Some rates, however, are increasing, and of course, we recommend you check your weights and zones to see how these changes may impact your shipments. The eBay shipping calculator automatically updates when the new rates are effective. That would be true also across third-party shipping platforms like Pirate Ship, ShipStation, and so on. These rates will automatically update, and it does pay to take a look and compare. It's something I do every day when I'm looking at my shipments. I'm comparing Ground Advantage to Media Mail rates to see which one is cheaper. In some cases, Media Mail is still the way to go for the stuff that I sell. In some cases, Ground Advantage actually works out to be cheaper. So with this change, it'll be very important to continue to do those checks just to make sure that you're not overpaying for shipping. Priority mail rates are generally decreasing for most weights and zones. There are some increases for packages up to 20 pounds in zones 1 to 5. Ground Advantage rates overall are decreasing. Again, this is in comparison to the holiday surcharge, not to what they were prior to October. There again are some increased rates depending on the weight and the zone, including up to 24 cents for some packages under 1 pound, which is where, again, for us media sellers, this is going to get a little interesting because in a lot of cases under a pound, particularly under 8 ounces, Ground Advantage has been cheaper for a little while than Media Mail, and some increases up to 55 cents for packages between 4 and 6 pounds. No increases to Media Mail or eBay standard envelope rates on eBay labels. We had conjectured that that would be the case, that Media Mail rates were not changing. There was no announcement specifically about it, but when they were not included in either of the updates, that was kind of what I said at the time back in the fall. It looked like Media Mail was going to miss this rate increase, and we in fact have, which is good news because Media Mail rates have skyrocketed over the last couple of years. There will, sorry about that. All of that is in line with what was expected based on the changes to published retail and commercial rates, with eBay's negotiated discounts, of course, impacting the rates sellers will see when purchasing labels through the platform. For those of you who use FedEx, rate increases are effective now. FedEx ground services are increasing by an average of 4.8%, and express services are increasing by an average of 7.5%, which is pretty hefty. also in line with what had been expected based on their published rate increases that they had shown. Um, Let me know. I'm just curious. My experience with FedEx is that they're awful. They are by far seem to be the slowest. They misdirect the most packages. From personal experience, items I have ordered that have been shipped through FedEx Ground are they've been delivered to the wrong house. They've been delivered late. It's just for my part, absolutely will not use FedEx, and I may. Actually, I'm to the point I may reconsider the companies that I do business with just based on whether or not they use FedEx or UPS, because my personal experience with FedEx has been absolutely atrocious. UPS 2025 rate increases go into effect on January 20th. There will be an average increase of 5.4% for UPS Ground and an increase of a whopping 12.7% for Ground Saver. That service has some new program updates as well that you can learn about by clicking the link in this article. The Ground increase is again in line with what was expected, but the heftier Ground Saver increase and those new program updates again are a reflection of the ongoing fallout after their contract with the Postal Service for SurePost, Ground Saver, and Mail Innovations and some other third-party services expired and was not renewed. We talked about that over the last couple of weeks, and I've got a little bit of an update here to come in this episode about that as well. UPS has been scrambling to move that volume in network while leaving shippers mostly in the dark about what's going on, and PO boxes, APO, FBO, Alaska, Hawaii, and Puerto Rico, and other territories having been removed with essentially no notice. In another sign of confirmation that there's likely no going back for UPS, eBay's help page follows other label providers like Pirate Ship in updating how Ground Saver no longer supports shipment to those locations. So big changes in shipping, some of which are positive and some of which clearly are not, but this is an ongoing multiple time a year thing we have to go through as resellers. Interesting news over at Etsy. They have launched a community newsletter and some monthly seller events for 2025. We have talked about on this show over probably the last 6 months or so my personal wish for a little more two-way interaction, particularly on eBay. Etsy has kind of jumped on this and introduced a new newsletter and some seller events. The community staff are kicking off the new year with promises of more opportunities for sellers to engage with the company and each other this year. They said, "Happy 2025. It's hard to believe the new year is already upon us. No matter your goals for this year, whether you are just starting out and aiming for your first sale, looking to transition your Etsy shop from a side hustle to a full-time gig, working to expand your product line, or shooting for a record-breaking year of sales, having a community to support and encourage you is key. This year, we, Etsy that is, will be providing you with more ways than ever to connect with and learn from each other, as well as our team here at Etsy." They went on to point out plans for a community newsletter and monthly virtual events, to expanding Etsy Up, which is their version of eBay Open, and hosting more in-person meetups. They introduced a community newsletter. We're making it easier for you to stay informed and connected with the latest news on community events, trends, seller features, success stories, key platform changes, and actionable tips to help you manage your shop more effectively. Look out for the first edition Thursday on the forums announcement page. So that would have been last week. So this has already been published. I have to admit, I have not had an opportunity to go look at that yet, but I will do that because there are so many changes on these platforms. There's so much going on. It can be very, very difficult to keep track of. And obviously, this is going to be biased. It's being produced by Etsy, so it's going to put whatever they're doing in the best possible light. But if there is a once a month newsletter that they put out that kind of summarizes all the changes that they sometimes will put on a policy page, sometimes in a community forum post, if there's one place that kind of consolidates all that into one, that would be nothing but good news for sellers. They introduced monthly virtual events and workshops, from Etsy listing critiques and fireside chats with industry experts to seller-led workshops. These events will offer practical advice and inspiration for sellers at every stage of their journey. They want to evolve Etsy Up. It is expanding. Look forward to more diverse programming, including, again, seller-led discussions that showcase your expertise and experiences. Again, this is a way for them to get free content free input, free everything from sellers by asking them to participate and lead conversations. And it's also, as a seller, it's a great way to get information from sellers who are successful rather than just listening to the people who run the site who are not necessarily sellers themselves. So this is not, it's potentially a win-win. Content will cater to shops of all sizes, categories, and levels of experience. And they're going to do more seller meetups. We're continuing our in-person meetups in cities worldwide, creating opportunities for sellers to connect face to face with each other and staff. Again, the first issue of the Etsy community newsletter dropped last Thursday. It had updates, seller events, trends, tips, and seller success stories. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a quick graphic of what that looks like. Nice looking little newsletter. Making the newsletter public by posting it in the announcements section, Liz notes over at Value Added Resource, is an interesting choice, especially since it's been 1 year since Etsy made the move to take most sections of the community forum private and make them only viewable and accessible when logged in with an active selling account. You may remember we talked about that a year ago. You could no longer, as a non-seller, get into most of the community forums and see what sellers were talking about. So, but this, they want to be available for both parties. Again, it's a marketing tool for them. Totally get it. So they're going to make it as public as possible and allow everybody the opportunity to see it. At the time, Etsy had positioned that decision as bolstering privacy and helping fight spam and scams, but conveniently, the decision also allowed the company to avoid public scrutiny by media, analysts, shareholders, and others who read those community posts for information about a wide variety of issues on the platform. In that light, the newsletter appears to be primarily a PR effort, providing, again, as I said, this is their newsletter. They're going to put themselves in the best light, carefully curated, positive public information, while most posts about the day-to-day user experience will still be hidden behind the seller registration wall. Is Etsy's community's newsletter perhaps also an effort to draw attention away from independent content from YouTubers like me, who have had some less than positive things to say from time to time about Etsy, or seller and e-commerce consultant Cindy Baldassi's popular Patreon page, which we have quoted through Liz's value-added resource on more than one occasion. So let me know what you think of that. Yes, it's a PR campaign. Yes, it's a marketing tool for Etsy. That's fine. As long as there's actual legitimate, useful information in there for sellers and potentially for buyers alike, I'm all for it. More communication is better than less. I still have reservations about the fact that they're hiding a significant portion of what goes on their community boards behind that registration wall. But this is at least a step in the right direction. Poshmark has made an interesting partnership with a company called Loop to help turn return, that's a mouthful, headaches into resale success. Poshmark and returns platform Loop announced a first-of-its-kind partnership to help consumers turn missed return windows and final sale regrets into resale success by offering a sustainable and financially rewarding alternative to recoup expenses. This is an interesting one. Loop helps thousands of the world's most loved Shopify brands optimize returns, exchanges, and reverse logistics at scale, but previously struggled to offer solutions for items that are past the brand's return window or sold with no returns accepted by the brand. Thanks to this new partnership, brands can now offer an easy one-click option that enables consumers to sell those items on Poshmark, transforming a negative returns experience into a positive one while creating new revenue streams for the merchants. So this is a really interesting setup. At Poshmark, we believe shopping and selling should be simple, social, and sustainable, said Stephen Tristan Young, Chief Marketing Officer over at Poshmark. After observing an increase in Poshmark listings mentioning missing the return window, we saw an opportunity to create a sustainable solution. Partnering with a market leader like Loop allows us to offer resale as an alternative, creating a more convenient experience for both buyers and sellers, putting money back in their wallets and keeping more items in circulation. Loop's U.S. merchants interested in enabling this experience for their consumers can do so with a simple click of their button in their Loop account. So you do have to have a Loop account, apparently. Once enabled, consumers who are initiating a return through their returns portal will see a Resell on Poshmark button next to any items that are no longer eligible for return. One click produces a complete, pre-filled listing on Poshmark with the item details, a strong improvement from the previous experience where the customer simply faced a dead end. While partnership is a first for both companies, it's not clear if it's an exclusive deal, which could leave the door open for Loop to expand this idea beyond fashion and or to other marketplaces if the idea proves successful. So this doesn't necessarily impact people like you and I, individual resellers. This is more aimed at companies, larger companies who have definite return windows and want to give their customers an opportunity to get rid of the item that they've had second thoughts about for whatever reason by offering it for sale on Poshmark. So this is a really interesting partnership and will be fascinating to watch how this works out. Will buyers who will then be becoming sellers on Poshmark of an item that they no longer want, will they consider this to be a good alternative to just being able to return the thing to the original vendor? Let me know in the comments down below what you think of that. I said I was going to get to this in a bit. UPS moves to in-house SurePost volume as the USPS contract fallout continues. They've yet to make an official statement at UPS about the future of SurePost, but updates to the product page indicate the company is moving that volume in-house after the Postal Service contract expired last week. Logistics and supply chain expert Kathy Morrow Roberson spotted the changes and linked to UPS's infographic page for SurePost, which highlights the use of UPS network now fully for delivery. You can see, if you're watching on YouTube, it says now leverages the UPS network of the future technologies to provide low-cost delivery solutions. So no longer including the use of the Postal Service for that last mile delivery. The UPS network of the future is a $9 billion multi-year initiative to modernize the company's operations through automation, consolidation, and advanced technology, and was launched last year. It appears that may be the key to the company's plans to compensate for the loss of that final mile delivery, according to their newest diagram. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see that last mile delivery now handled by UPS. SurePost packages delivered by UPS delivery will be Monday through Saturday, with an estimated 2 to 6 days in transit and service only available, importantly, to the lower 48 states. So like we talked about a few minutes ago, none of the U.S. territories, Puerto Rico, Guam, any of that. No Alaska, no Hawaii, just the lower 48. That would be in line with what shippers are experiencing with PO boxes, APO, FPO, and again, Alaska, Hawaii, and Puerto Rico and other territories suddenly no longer being supported on third-party services as well. The Teamsters, of course, had a meeting with the United States Post, or with UPS management rather, on Tuesday to discuss the increased volume related to this SurePost contract, 9.5 protections for overtime work and other issues around any potential implementation for future technology by the company, as improved guardrails around SurePost were a critical gain for the Teamsters during their contract negotiations in 2023. A lot of delivery guys on a Reddit thread talking about delivery drivers going from 12 to 14-hour days. One said they normally went out with between 250 and 270 packages. Now they've got 350 to 500. And the changes are also, of course, impacting shippers who use UPS Ground Saver, with label provider Pirate Ship updating their documentation again to show that that service no longer supports PO boxes, which, of course, UPS can't deliver to, and those aforementioned states and territories. So big changes for a couple of UPS programs and potentially some big problems on the horizon as their drivers are now being burdened with a lot of extra stops, a lot of extra packages, which they're in many cases not able to deliver. There was one comment, the driver returned back to his station with 100 packages still in his truck because he was recalled because of the amount of time he'd already been on the road. So this is going to be interesting to watch. Again, let me know in the comments if you use any of those services. Will you continue to use them? And have you seen, other than obviously the cutoff of those various locations, have you seen any changes in your service levels so far? Last thing in the news, Whatnot made a really big announcement, building the future of live shopping together. This was a blog post over on Whatnot. I've talked about my journey on Whatnot, and one of the things that has come up a couple of times is Is the Whatnot marketplace, not the live shopping, but the marketplace worth selling on? And my standard retort has been, number one, I haven't used it, so I can't comment specifically, but my impression is that it is not even a secondary thought to Whatnot or to sellers. It is so far down the list to be almost inconsequential. And again, here just in the headline, they're talking about live shopping, not about their marketplace. So interesting. From the very beginning, Whatnot was built on a simple idea to bring people together through commerce and help you make a living from what you love. We've always believed that shopping can go beyond transactions to create vibrant communities, places where you can find new customers, connect with fellow enthusiasts, and truly build your brand. And I will say, from my experience there, which is 2.5 months, 3 months now, that all, except for the full-time living bit, I'm nowhere near that. But in terms of like meeting fellow enthusiasts and building a community, it is much, much better than the other selling platforms. There is no sense of community on eBay where you're processing, maybe hundreds of transactions a week and you don't know who anybody is. Once in a great while, you'll get a nice note from somebody, but there's no real interaction. There's no community building. You're trying to build repeat business through good customer service and all that kind of stuff. But it presents a YouTube slash podcast element to the selling that allows you to build a community of like-minded people. And that has definitely been the case with me. I have got folks, some of whom of you have transitioned from YouTube to go over and watch over there, but some that have come the other way, that have found me on Whatnot and that now are subscribers over here on YouTube. So it's that piece of it is absolutely very true. And if that's something that you're interested in, again, I would recommend Whatnot as a place to look at. Every day, we're inspired by how you, our sellers, turn that idea into reality. We're not just listing products, you're hosting events, sharing stories, and building relationships that span cities, countries, and even continents. Today, we're excited to announce an additional $265 million from investors who believe deeply in what we're building together. With these new resources, we're doubling down on what you need to thrive. Here's how we're working to meet you wherever you are in your journey and help you continue succeeding. They're working on more tools to grow your business. They say in the coming year, you'll see new features and enhancements designed to help you grow your business. We're simplifying how you manage inventory and orders, refining streaming capabilities, and providing insights to guide your decision-making. By streamlining your day-to-day operations, we hope to free up more time for you to focus on what truly matters, engaging your community, and sharing the products and stories you're most passionate about. I've talked about the live selling experience occasionally being a little glitchy. There's a lot of instances where the chat kind of resets itself. I've had one show that completely crashed and locked up. So there are some kind of back of house technical things that they need to work on. Some of the accounting stuff on that side, the financials, looking at your fees and all that kind of stuff is to be fair, it's a lot more cumbersome than it is on some of the other sites. So any improvements that they can make there would truly be helpful, especially I would feel like for higher volume sellers, if they're trying to keep track on a kind of a daily basis, what their expenses are on the platform. So there are definitely some areas of opportunity for them to improve their service. Expanding to new markets and audiences, shoppers, collectors, and enthusiasts worldwide are waiting to discover what you have to offer. As we strengthen our presence across North America and Europe and introduce our platform to new regions, we'll also be investing in marketing initiatives to attract new buyers. This means you'll have an even greater opportunity to connect with those like-minded customers wherever they may be. We're here to support you as you forge new connections and grow your community across borders. Building trust and reliability. Trust underpins every transaction on our platform. As our community grows, we're refining how we support you so that every transaction, conversation, and show feels reliable and welcoming. We're investing in more responsive support for both buyers and sellers and making our policies clearer and easier to understand so you always know what to expect. We're committed to evolving in ways that respect your values and meet the needs and expectations of our community, growing together every step of the way. They conclude, your feedback guides our priorities and fuels our mission. Every improvement we make, every new feature we develop, and every market we explore is shaped by your voice. We'll keep listening, adapting, and evolving to support your success. We're proud to have you and our newest supporters by our side in this journey. Thank you for helping us make Whatnot what it is today and what it will become tomorrow. So kudos to Whatnot. Massive growth there this year, big sales numbers, and now a big infusion of cash to help them continue to grow. Let me know again if you are a seller on Whatnot, what your experience has been. Like I said, in my case, for how I'm using it, I feel like it's been pretty successful. I can tell that at least in the way I'm currently using it, there's no way it's going to replace eBay or even Etsy, probably in my kind of hierarchy of business. But it has definitely been a plus revenue generator, and if nothing else, it has been really a terrific social experience. I've met some really really great people over there, and have a lot of fun once or twice a week, interacting with them, chatting in the chat, having conversation. It's been really, really great. So let me know, and hopefully we'll see you at a show. Shameless plug, my next show will be Tuesday, vintage fiction, and then every Friday I do vintage science fiction and fantasy. Those shows Tuesday and Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern. With that, speaking of selling stuff, let's get into this What Sold segment. Good week, not great week. I think it was 110 listings sold last week. So pretty solid from that standpoint. As I talked about, I think in last week's episode, I'm running a really, really aggressive clearance right now on the oldest, like 1,800 or 2,000 items. So I've got a lot of stuff at 70% off. So my average selling price is quite a bit down so far this month. Volume wise, I'm still trending well up to what last January looked like, but it's on the strength of kind of a lot more sales with a lot lower individual ticket prices. But I did have a dozen things that kind of qualified for this show that we're going to go through. So let's get started. The Book of Books, the King James Version by Wilbur Owen Shepherd. This is a 1957 illustrated hardcover in its dust jacket. This was part of a big lot of books I picked up for an average of 50 cents. In reasonably good condition. Dust jacket had a little bit of wear and staining on it, but not bad, and a fairly hard book to find. Listed on eBay for $24.99. Got a watcher. I sent out an offer and sold it for $21.24 plus shipping. The buyer paid a total of $28.55. I paid $4.24 in regular fees, $2 for the promoted listing fees. Cost me $5.38 to ship, but that was paid, of course, by the buyer. Again, cost of goods sold just 50 cents. My total cost $14.05 led to a net profit of $14.50 on the Book of Books, King James Version from 1957. Old religious books, love them. Absolutely love them. Die Designing and Estimating by the American Industrial Publishers. Another illustrated hardcover, this one from 1941. This was part of a big lot of kind of industrial engineering and design books that I picked up at an estate sale a little over a year ago. This was running on sale over on eBay for $22.74, which is what it sold for, plus shipping. The buyer paid a total of $29.53. I paid $4.37 in fees, $2.07 for promoted listing fees. Again, 91-cent cost of goods sold as part of a big lot. My total cost $14.14 led to a net profit of $15.39. Talk about it all the time. In addition to the religious books, I love these old mechanical engineering and industrial design textbooks from pre-1960. Not necessarily always fast movers, but you can usually get them super cheap and usually sell them for pretty good licks. Selections from the writings of Abdul Baha from 1978. This was a first edition hardcover in its dust jacket, I believe from the Baha'i faith. Very unusual book, picked up as part of a big lot, again for 50 cents. This sold over on eBay for $23.99 plus shipping. Real nice note in the feedback from the buyer of this, who's a follower of this religion, who was just thrilled to have found this book in a first edition. Those are the kind of stories you always like to hear from buyers. The buyer paid a total of $31.43. I paid $4.63 in fees, $2.20 in promoted listing fees. 50 cents cost of goods sold. My total cost $14.77. Net profit $16.66 for the selections from the writings of Abdul Baha. Again, religious textbooks, religious books of any kind for the win. An old novel, this from 1976 for them, That Trespass by Ernest Raymond. This was a first edition, first printing, ex-library copy, hardcover in its dust jacket with the kind of the Mylar Brodart cover on it. In reasonably good condition, a little bit of dirt on that Mylar. I suppose if somebody was able to take that off, the dust jacket was actually in pretty nice shape. Had this listed for $32.99, sold it on an outgoing offer for $28.04 plus shipping and, of course, tax. The buyer's total was $36.01. I paid $5.25 in fees, $2.52 for promoted listing fees. Cost of goods sold, 38 cents. This was part of the big 650 odd book lot that I picked up a couple of months ago. So pretty cheap to me. My total costs were $16.12 and I netted $19.89 on this old novel from 1976. It probably goes without saying, first printing books, even if they're ex-library copies, can be worth reasonably good money. So you always want to take a look if you're looking at books to see if something is a first printing. The Raptured, A Catholic View of the Latter Days and the Second Coming by Tombler Funk. This was a paperback book in fair condition, had some creasing on the cover. This was part of the big 15,000 book lot from a couple of summers ago. So this was on sale. I think I had it listed for maybe $32 or $34.99. It sold for $29.24 over on eBay, plus shipping. The buyer paid a total of $36.57. Again, I paid both a regular and a promoted listing fee, $5.32 and $2.56 respectively. Cost of goods sold as part of that big lot was just 4 American pennies. So my total cost $15.25 for a net profit of $21.32. The Raptured, A Catholic View of the Latter Days. Once again, what is this, third time now? Third time this show? Religious books, old religious books. Be on the lookout. This was a cool piece. This was a part of the kind of the big 1800 book lot. This is one that was just kind of stuck in a box. It looked like a folder, but it was actually a staple bound 8.5 by 11 booklet, Newcomer's Key to Dayton from 1938, published by Elder and Johnson, which it looked like maybe was a department store in the Dayton area in the 1930s. Illustrated booklet had a bunch of like advertising cards from local vendors, local stores in the back pocket. Really interesting piece about how to integrate yourself into the Dayton, Ohio area in the 1930s. Lots of great photos, great stories, really cool piece. Again, picked it up for just 50 cents. Had it listed for $34.99. Got an offer almost immediately for $30, which I went ahead and took. Buyer paid shipping and tax for a total of $37.23. I paid $5.41 in fees, no promoted listing fee on this one. Cost of goods sold again was 50 cents. Net profit $24.09. Cool old book. First sale of the week on Etsy. California Fulfills Its Manifest Destiny by Edwin Heil. This is from 1992, so this, I believe, was a reprint of a really old book. Pioneer Press is a company that does a lot of reprints of old, like late 1800s, early 1900s books. This was from 1992. The cover aped the style of the original book, was not modernized. It was like a straight facsimile copy, if you will, of this book from, I believe it was from the late 1800s. California Fulfills Manifest Destiny. This was on sale over on Etsy for 10% off my normal price and sold for $32.49 plus shipping. Fees, $3.85. No offsite ad fee on this one. My cost of goods sold, this was part of the big 15,000 book lot, so cost of goods sold was just 4 whole cents. My total cost, $11.91. Net profit, $27.85. Back over to eBay, The Institutes of the Christian Religion by John Calvin. This was a 2-volume hardcover set from 1949, published by, I think it's William C. Eerdmans. Picked this up as part of another big batch of religious books back in late summer for $1 a piece, listed and sold on eBay as a set for $34.99 plus shipping, $6.58 in fees, $3.22 for the promoted listing fee. Again, cost of goods sold for the set was just $2. My net profit, $23.19. Did I mention old religious books? I did. I did. I'll continue. This was a couple of interesting pieces. I wasn't sure what to do with these. I couldn't find anything like this. I couldn't find any real good comps on it. These were part, again, of the big 18,000 book lot, stuck in a box in the same as the Dayton book we just talked about. These were United South African Xmas Christmas Annuals, one from 1912 and one from 1917, published by the Central News Agency Limited in South Africa in the early 1900s. Kind of like a magazine, if you will, I guess. Really interesting piece. I really didn't find much like this to know where to comp these, so I listed these at auction starting at $19.99. And that's what they both ultimately sold for. But again, this ended up being a pretty decent sale. I had one buyer that bid on and bought both of these. Again, United South African Xmas Annuals from 1912 and 1917. The buyer paid a total of $39.98 plus ground advantage shipping. The total was $50.48. I paid $7.20 in fees, $3.54 for the promoted listing fee. Cost of goods sold, again, was just $1. These were part of that big 50-cent per item bundle that I did. I did save a little bit on the shipping. Ground advantage, I don't pass my discount along to the buyers, so I paid $6.44 in shipping. So my net profit on this deal, $32.30. Another old book, this one from 1963, The Sound of the Hammer by Carl Conrad Britsch. This was a first edition signed hardcover with its dust jacket from Vantage Press. This was, again, part of the big 650 odd book lot. I had a pretty aggressive acceptable offer on this. I had it listed at $69.99. Normally, my best acceptable offer is like 10 or 15% off, but I went a little more aggressive because it was hard to find really reliable comps on this one. So listed at $69.99, I did get an offer of $55, which I went ahead and took. Buyer also paid shipping and tax for a total of $65.17. I paid $9.17 in fees, $5.38 to ship, which was of course paid by the buyer. 38-cent cost of goods sold. Net profit on this sale, $45.45. Another old book. This was, again, part of the 15,000 book lot. The Catwalk by D.B. Olson, a 1953 Doubleday Crime Club edition, hardcover in its dust jacket. Another ex-library book with library markings and that Mylar Brodart on it. You can see, if you're watching on YouTube, the reflection of the phone in that Mylar. I hate those things, but I usually don't take them off because they can damage. Some of them are really glued on there, so I usually leave them on. Katie Reeds has commented that she hates those things too because they screw up your photos. But nonetheless, cool old book, The Catwalk by D.B. Olson, listed for $69.99. I sent out an offer and sold this for $59.49 plus shipping. The buyer paid a total of $69.57. I paid $9.76 in fees. No promoted listing fee on this. Cost of goods sold, because it was from that big lot, was a low 4 cents. Net profit, $49.69. This might be the last one of the week. A Method for Creative Design by Adolfo Best Magard from 1952. This was a revised edition, 13th printing. So this book originated probably in the late 1800s or early 1900s. Hardcover in its dust jacket in really nice condition. Listed and sold on Etsy for $64.99. This was also part of the big 1800 book lot, so my cost of goods sold, just 50 cents. Buyer paid a total of $76.18. I paid $7.11 in fees, no offsite ad fee, thankfully. 50 cents again, cost of goods sold, net profit $57.38. And yes, that is the last one for the week. So all in all, a pretty good week here. 110 listings sold, about a 20% increase versus the same week last year. So I will take it. January so far has been really, really good. We talked about that a little bit in the live on Wednesday. For those of you who were there, business has been really good. I hope yours has too. Let me know what you think of any of this in the comments down below. If you got something out of this, again, shameless plug, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. If you're not currently a subscriber to the channel or a follower of the podcast, please do that as well. I would love to have you on board. We do this episode pretty much every Monday, and then as time allows, I try to do a live show on YouTube every Wednesday as well. As always, thank you for spending a little bit of time with me this week. Hopefully you got something out of it, and until next time, it's time to sell. Thanks, guys. Oh, wrong button. I did it wrong. Sorry. Hey, let's try that again. It's time to sell. You have been listening to the Galaxy CDs Rocks and Flips Reseller Talk podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will catch you again next time.